Hey everybody, welcome back to Flipmas Day 8. We're gonna take this old World Market table and give it a new life. So I was searching Facebook Marketplace for a table and I came across this one. It was only $50. So I had to take it. I drove about an hour away to pick it up and it is so solid. It is wood. We're gonna keep it a wood look, but I'm not gonna be sanding back the finish. Thanks so much to Retique It for sponsoring this video. Let's get it cleaned. So like I said, this table is so heavy, but lucky for us, it does come apart. But I'm gonna go ahead and clean the top first, and then I'll have Neven help me disassemble it so we can get all of the parts cleaned. I'm gonna use simple green to clean and just apply it straight directly to the surface. You guys, this is probably one of my most asked questions is what do I clean furniture with? In every single video, I clean with either simple green, white lightning, crud cutter, furniture prep, Dawn dish soap. It really doesn't matter what the product that you're using to clean is, as long as you're using a degreasing cleaner. Like I said, this piece has seen better days. I don't know if someone started to potentially like sand it off and refinish it or what was going on, but there's definitely signs of really bad wear and tear. I think these white marks are from people putting hot things onto the table. You know, you're not really supposed to put hot things directly onto the top of a table.
So hot, want to touch the hiney.
No matter what type of finish you have, it's going to damage it. So this is just a friendly PSA. No matter if you've got a store-bought table or a refinished table, don't put hot plates directly onto the surface of your table. Make sure you're using a hot pad because it will ruin your finish if you don't. So there's just one little issue with the table and it was only $50, so that's all right. It is missing one of these wedge thingies. I don't know what they're exactly called, but I've been looking at the internet, trying to see if I can find one that I can replace it with. Otherwise, I think I'm gonna have to make it. So stay tuned till the end of the video to see what I'm gonna do to get a matching one over on this side to hold everything together. I lied, there's one more problem. This part's dog chewed, but I am going to just fix that with Bondo and then we can reshape it and it'll be as good as new. If you guys ever wondered why I'm not using my seat, that's because he is.
Using what?
He is using my seat, and I can't. All right, moving right along, we are going to make this repair. Luckily, this is the only repair that we need to make. There's no gouges or anything on the tabletop, so that is a great thing in my opinion because the least repairs, the least repairs possible, the best, because I don't want to spend my time making repairs. I want to get quicker to the finished product. So we've got a dog chewed edge here, and the Bondo is going to be the best thing to help me repair this because it is going to stay intact the best. It's gonna harden the best between all of the other wood fillers out there, and it's gonna keep its shape. So I'm going to take the first part here, add it to my piece of cardboard, and we're gonna need quite a bit, I would say. I'm gonna overfill, that way we can sand it to the correct shape. So that's probably enough, and then we're going to use the cream hardener, add that to the Bondo, mix it all together, and then we're gonna add it to the area. Again, I'm kind of gonna overfill it, that way I can sand it to the correct shape. All right, I'm pretty sure that's gonna be good for the Bondo, and hopefully we're gonna cross our fingers that we only need the one application, and after I sand it down we'll be good to go with a new perfect shape. Okay, so while that Bondo is hardening up, I am going to take my surf prep with a 120 grit and get this smoothed out. I'm not looking to remove any more of the finish than is already removed, but I think I might have spoken a little too soon. If I can't get this gouge out, then I might have to put a little bit more Bondo on the top here, but we're gonna smooth everything else out so that we've got a nice surface. All right, it is time for the Bondo to be sanded. I went ahead and scuff sanded everything else, and it's looking really great. This is ready, and I'm gonna just take my same 120 sandpaper and sand that all smooth. All right, that is gonna do it for sanding, so let's prime. All right, we're gonna prime. We're gonna actually be priming 2 times, but the first primer I'm gonna use is the Bin shellac-based primer, and that is gonna help me seal in all of the exposed wood. So some of it, the finish was already exposed, and then in a few areas, I also busted through the finish to try to sand out some of the scratches and blemishes, which I was successful at, so that was great. But now I want to do this because I do not want to risk any bleed through. Bleed through is when the colors and the tannins in the wood come through the finish because we're going to be using a water-based finish. So I want to avoid that, and so to do that, we seal it in with the shellac-based primer. Whether you're using the clear shellac or the Bin shellac, either one will work. I prefer to use a foam roller or just a roller of some sort to apply this because I can just take my foil, take the roller head, throw that away because this is a little bit tricky to clean up. So I'm just gonna dump it in here. I've got a really big surface, so I do think I'm probably gonna use the rest of this. It's about half full only, and we'll have quite a bit of a bigger area to cover. All right, the primer is on. I did 2 coats on the tabletop because of those really large spots with the wood popping through, and then just 1 coat on the legs and the supports. So we're gonna let this dry, and then we will move on to our next coat of primer, but it's a different primer. All right, well, we are ready for the second application of primer. However, like I said, it's gonna be a different type of primer. It is going to be the Retique It Wooden Primer, which is made of 60 to 65% wood fibers. So this is like partly wood inside of this jar, but it's all liquid. It's their patented formula, but what it's gonna do is help us create a wood look on this table. Even though we've primed it, it's going to end up looking like a wood table in the end. So stick around because this stuff is really cool. You might question it for a little bit, but trust me, in the end, it's gonna be so mind-blowing. So we've got the color light, we've got the light wooden primer. So there's different colors of the primers, but the light one is where we're gonna start because depending on which type of look you're going for, as far as like what type of wood you want to emulate with this strategy, would depend on like which color you would start with. So we're gonna start with the light. I shook it up really well. I think I'm gonna shake it up just a little bit more here. And then after that, all I'm gonna do is brush it on. We're not gonna worry about brush strokes at all because actually that's going to help with the texture of creating it to be that real wood look and feel. So to me, this is really no different than painting on like paint or primer at all. You don't really change the way that you do it. However, the only thing, like I said, is you're not worried about the brush stroke marks that could appear and stay behind because it's not meant to be self-leveling. You do want to just go in one direction. Whatever direction you want your wood grain to flow is the way that you want to paint this on. You don't want to be going every which way because that's not the way that wood works. The grain will go in one direction. Typically, it's going to be the long direction. So That's why I'm deciding to do the long strokes this way. If I were wanting to go this direction, that would be fine too, but then I would make sure that they were all going in that direction. Coat 1 of the wooden primer is on, except I do got to do the underside of this because can't do all 4 sides at once. And once this is dry, I'll come back and do one more coat of the wooden primer. All right, it's time for coat number 2 of the wooden primer. So same thing, I'm gonna be going long ways with my brush, creating the brush strokes in the same direction the entire time. And we're gonna definitely get some better coverage on this second coat. There is a little bit of texture, but notice how I'm not sanding it down between coats because we want a little bit of texture on this look and on the end result finish. The fun part is about to begin. So we've got the liquid wood on, the wooden primer, 2 coats, and then I went ahead, I'm going for a specific look. So I went ahead and did a couple of test areas. So I had this board. It's a little bit tricky to tell, but on one side over here, I did one technique. On this side over here, I did another technique. And then on this board, I did another technique. So we've got 3 different ones. On this one, I used some liquidy barnwood stain, which is this right here, right on top of the Retique It Liquid Primer, and then, or the wooden primer. And then I let that dry. And then I took this gel stain in the color Pickled Oak and did the wood graining tool on it, and then one more little layer of gel stain. To me, this is just a tad bit too dark for what I'm going for. So that is not the method we're gonna do. On this one, and like I said, it's tricky to tell, but there is a tad bit of a difference. So on the left side here, I took after 2 coats of wooden primer, I did the gel stain, like the Pickled Oak gel stain, full strength, let that dry, and then I did another layer of the primer, the wooden primer, and I did the wood graining tool. And then once that was dry, I did another layer of the gel stain just over it. And then on this side, right on top of the original 2 layers of the wooden primer, I did the gel stain with the wood graining tool. And then I did another layer of the gel stain on the top. I think this is the one that I'm gonna go with because it's a little bit less steps and it's really the look that I'm going for. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna actually start on the legs of the piece because I think this is gonna be the little bit more difficult part because there are so many areas that have corners and curves and things. So it's gonna take maybe a little bit longer. I'm just gonna take my time, do section by section, but this Retique It, the whole line of products is super awesome because there's so many different ways that you can apply this to get the look that you're going for. Whether it is, you know, the gel stain with the wood graining tool through it, or you do a full layer of gel stain and then you do the wooden primer again with the wood grain through it. So many different options, which I think is really cool. You don't even have to use the wood graining tool if you're kind of looking for more just like a less grainy wood look too. So I have got the Pickled Oak gel stain, and it's a little bit thinner than maybe your typical gel stain that you might be used to, but it's a good color. So we're going for a little bit of that lighter look, and I'm just gonna go ahead and paint this onto my section here. Don't really want to get it on any other section because if it dries, you can't really utilize that wood graining tool anymore. But notice how I am going from top to bottom as big of brush strokes as I can so that we're going to get the correct look of that wood. I'm not going side by side. I am just going up and down here. And then there are 2 different wood graining tools. One is a little bit smaller, one is a little bit bigger, and it doesn't really matter which one you use. You can even go back and forth between them. So I am gonna utilize the bigger one because it is just about the right size for the entire piece here. And then if I need to, I can always brush over this if I don't like the look, because actually it is a little bit, maybe I'll do like half. All right, here we go. You just push down and rock it back and forth to achieve that wood look. And then we can take the little guy here and do any sort of touch up that you want. And if you don't like it as much and you need to restart, you can just go ahead, take your gel stain, paint it right back over that, and then try again. It's very forgiving. You've got some good amount of work time before it totally dries. You may need to kind of wipe your wood graining tool as well to kind of get that gel stain out of there. I'm gonna try it with the smaller one this time. All right, so there is our first one. We're gonna continue doing this until we get the entire leg done, and then I'll move on to the next leg. All right, we are ready for the big tabletop. So we're gonna do the same exact technique. I'm gonna put the pickled oak over the top of the table and then take my wood graining tool through it. Now, like I said on the legs, it's important to just go section by section, meaning that I'm only gonna paint on about this much gel stain at a time so that I can then do it. Because it will dry too quickly if I go ahead and gel stain the entire table and then go back and use the wood graining tool. So I'm just gonna make sure my surface is free and clear of dust. And then I also remembered from the last time that I used Retique It, the paper towel or some sort of method to help you clear off your wood graining tool is gonna be your best friend, or else it will get too clogged up and it won't allow you to make any good wood grain effect on your piece. When you're brushing it on, you want enough, but you don't want it to be like pooling up. So just enough to where it's not clumping or making huge piles of the gel stain. And again, we're going in one single direction. We're going the long ways. And then when I grab my wood graining tool, I'm going to go all the way across, because if this were a true wood table, or we weren't painting over it is true wood, but if it we're emulating true planks of wood, it wouldn't really stop in the middle unless there was like a clear stop and there was another board. But it's gonna be the easiest technique to just drag it all the way across. I'm gonna kind of have like that rocking motion, and we're going to see what it looks like. If you do need to redo it, all you do is take your brush back over the area and smooth it all out again, and then you would just rub your wood graining tool through it again. Got the tabletop done, but now we get to do the edges, and I think it's gonna be best if we wait until the table is completely dry. That way I'm not messing up anything around the edges. So once this is dry, we'll do the edges. So now that the first layer of the stain is dry, that's the one that I used the wood graining tool through, I am going to go back over the entire area with the same stain, the pickled oak, but I'm just gonna brush it on, and then I'm gonna like wipe a little bit back. I did a little test, and I think that the full strength pickled oak on there again is gonna be too dark, so you can't really see as much of the wood graining, but then also we're losing a little bit of that lighter color. So I want it to be a tad bit lighter than this pickled oak. So I want the light wood primer to still peek through a bit. So I'm just gonna lightly wipe back some of that gel stain that I just applied. I'm still always working in the same motion, up and down or side to side, whichever way my wood grain is going. And then we will have something that looks like that. So I'm gonna do that on all the surfaces, and then we'll be able to top coat. Oh, wow. Alrighty, we're done staining it. This is the finished look. However, because it's a tabletop, we want to protect it. So we are going to grab the Tripletique It and we're going to give this a top coat. All right, here is the top coat, and much like any other top coat, we're just going to brush it right on. And this is a matte top coat, so we won't really get much of a sheen at all, which is fine. I'll probably do multiple top coats on the tabletop itself because, like I said, it's gonna see a lot of traffic because it is a table. So any dishes, silverware, food, things like that, it needs to be protected from all those things. All right, let's put this table together. So we've got most of the pieces out, and if you remember from the very beginning of the video, I only had one of the pieces that holds the middle portion, like the stretcher, I think it's called, in place, and it's missing the other one. So what I decided to do was grab a board that I already had here and use my jigsaw, traced this one, and then cut a new one. So now you can't even tell which is which because I also did the same Retique It on these guys so they look exactly like the table. So I'm gonna go ahead and put the stretcher in and these little wedges to hold everything together before we get the big tabletop on it. Tabletop time. It looks so good. I am so proud of this project. I've honestly been looking forward to it since the moment I went and grabbed this table, and the vision totally came to life, and of course I couldn't not stage it appropriately for the season. So we've got it a little tablescape going on here. Also my first time doing a tablescape like this at all. Like this, can you just picture this in someone's house for Christmas dinner? We don't have chairs for it or any type of bench or seating, but I figured that someone might just be looking for a table, or it's okay to have different chairs that don't necessarily belong. I'm thinking it'll look really cool with some black chairs. So I have been on the hunt for some, but I think I'm still gonna go ahead and put it up for sale as is with none of the chairs, just because, again, someone could find their own chairs. Maybe there is someone out there that has chairs that needs a table. Whatever the case may be, I'm just so stoked with how this came out. Almost forgot my Christmas gear for this last part of the video here. There we go, now I'm all geared up. But anyway, so the table costs about $50, so really not a huge buy-in. And then the Retique It products, all of them, I barely used any of it. So they're gonna be able to last me projects in the future, which is really nice too. But if you're interested in Retique It, check out the link down below in the description. This is an amazing product, you guys. There's nothing else like it on the market. like if you rub your hand over it, it literally feels like it is the wood grain. So that is something that I love. You can't get that with any other product. And I'm excited to use it on a future product at some point, or a future project at some point. I really have it envisioned in on the top of a dresser, painted the rest, but the top with the Retique It. I've done 2 end tables and this now, so it's all been done with Retique It. So I'm kind of excited to see if I can do a wood look with painted and see kind of how that looks. So we're nearing the end of Flipmas. This is number 8 already. I cannot believe it, but there's only 4 more left. So stay tuned for some more projects coming up in the next several days. They are good. And the next one is the project that I have been looking forward to out of the 12 that we've done this season in Flipmas. So I cannot wait to showcase it for you and show you and bring you along this new style of project that I'm gonna try out. So be sure and get subscribed. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you on the flip side.